people that have done past life regressions and spoken to souls or whatever it is, or psychic mediums that claim they can speak to other entities, they all come back to this same sort of explanation and pathway. What have you found from your research? Is it similar or is it completely different?
No, I'm getting a framework now of what I think is going on. There's a lot to it, but essentially what we're noticing is that the human experience this is where it's so complicated, but we're learning with our human mind, we're learning slowly. But it's as if there was someone watching us just laughing at us, how far off we are. Yeah. But put it this way, if the ego is willing to step aside long enough for you to experience, say, broader consciousness, regardless of what that is, then you go into a field of energy that disobeys Newtonian physics beyond time and space. So even linear time disappears. So the idea of past lives, I was then, now I am now, that's only because we are now reading and experiencing that and speaking about that from a human perspective where we measure time linear. We measure, so we experience the 3D, and then fourth dimension is time. So time runs so we can experience a moving object of the third dimension, but time does not exist beyond this fourth dimension or third dimension experience. When you go beyond your egoic state, you can experience beyond time. And so how do we even navigate that sensibly is, well, we look at the way we've now understood quantum physics, where we're looking at the concept of entanglement, where you can have two particles. Are you guys aware of that?
Yes. Is that where you separate them and they do the same thing?
Correct. The entanglement means that they are obviously operating of the same system, and that when you manipulate one, the other one responds in real time without any time delay. So as you manipulate one, the other one is affected. And that disobeys Newtonian, say, basic local theory of physics, because even your phone, you can receive a call, but you know that it came from another phone, went to a tower to your phone. It still passes through time and can be measured. Whereas the entanglement is real time.
So
there is
not
no
action reaction. It's just action.
Action, same time.
And at what point does the observer play a part in this?
The observer effect is a massive thing. Without the vantage point of human lens, this is where the reductive materialist model for science, what we say, this is scientific or spiritual, and they're not the same. Again, you're measuring everything through the human 5 senses, right? And then you're saying this is true, but it's only true through the lens of the 5 senses, So yes, beyond that, you could say we can't even measure, or we can't understand beyond what we can actually interpret through our 5 senses. But now the quantum physics, last year, the Nobel Prize went to these 3 quantum physicists or theoretical physicists, and finally have proven the non-local theory. They've got enough experimentation now that the quantum realm operates through non-locality, meaning that time and space barely even, the Newtonian classical physics of needing to learn something physically to know it, rather than psychically being connected. It's like, that has all, at least at a subatomic level, been proven that that's how the subatomic realm exists. So if we are a bunch of subatomic particles, how come it's a foreign concept that we can operate the same, that I can know something without any physical connection to it? So it's starting to understand the essence of us. I get it that while I am here operating with gravity and all the things that Newtonian physics govern us by, I know that this is how it looks. So at a molecular level and above, you are noticing basic Newtonian physics. So we all agree on that. So the science minds or the reductive materialist models, we get it, that's the thing that governs the third dimensional human experience. But consciousness, the essence, the deeper parts of consciousness, who you really are, goes into the subatomic realms. It disobeys time and space. It is beyond Newtonian physics. And if we are that, then, and our consciousness is almost going into the atom, then we are now experiencing beyond time and space, past lives, all that kind of stuff.
The collective consciousness idea is so interesting. But even these old philosophical questions that were asked are being proven scientifically. Like,
now
if a tree falls in the woods
did it fall,
and no one's around to hear it, did it make a sound? And these are sort of being answered now by quantum entanglement and stuff, which is fucking mind blowing to
Yeah.
think these sorts of people who were asking these questions for years.
That's right. And now we
answers
can
to.
do it. Now we can do it because at least we're trying to wonder what's the bridge, right? Trust me, everyone asks this same question. What's the bridge between science and spirituality or metaphysics, right? Where is that bridge? Because right now there's just two camps. You know, it's either, oh, hey, I met a psychic the other day, or I am psychic, and you've got this other side saying, well, no, sorry, I believe in science.
Yeah.
You know, and reducing that to just a wishful thinking or just reading, interpreting things or playing games.
That comes back to what you were saying prior to the pod, Delby. Like, why is there no bridge between the spiritual and scientific world? Like,
there is a bridge now. This is
Yeah?
what we're getting. So I think scientifically, meaning the microscope, the best we've got now is quantum physics. We're understanding the behavior of the entanglement. All we have to do now is what the panpsychists have done, which is a philosophical school of thought. They have now said, well, if consciousness is at a subatomic level, meaning it's just energy and vibration,
science,
right?
Yeah.
Then it's like, well, now all these phenomenal things that are happening to us, it starts to at least have some grounding because we know that at a subatomic level, time and space, physicality, local theory, Newtonian physics doesn't happen.
So
right?
instead of it being some sort of woo-woo spiritual
Yeah.
thing, it ends up being quite a scientific thing
Yeah.
that we just don't understand
That's
yet.
right. But what we care, right, instead of trying to prove something, what we're just trying to figure out is how does this affect the human experience, right? Really, you can prove a whole bunch of facts, but really always comes down to what does this change about the human experience by knowing this stuff, right? So say to run a system, an economic or medical system, psychological system for intervention, you can't do that if you don't have some scientific explanation of causality, right? To make sense of it, or else it's like, well, you can't replicate it. What is it why is it this person's going to past life? You know, there's nothing really grounding in mainstream science that says this is worth changing a system over, a belief of a psychological model. But they just don't want to look. Yeah. It's in the School of Virginia, the University of Virginia. They have a ton of research there. That's where it's at, academically studied, where they've gone deep and deep into past lives, psychic phenomena.
What have they been finding out?
Well, they now know, it's like without even a shred of doubt, that there is human physicality and then there is spirit or consciousness. They are not the same. They interact with each other, but we are not fundamentally biology, and then consciousness emerges. So to make this very simple, by the way, guys, if we talk about reductive materialism, meaning the people that believe in, say, that your dreams and your psychic stuff just comes from brain excitement, right? Your fear of death creating stuff, but it's not real. They are traditionally what we call physicalists or materialists, right? Or reductive materialists. That everything fundamentally in the universe, it comes down to matter.
Yep.
And then our consciousness from brain activity creates these phenomenal experiences of thought, memories, dreams and all that. But it just came from brain activity. Yeah. So it's not special as you think it is. That's the current side of camp of reductive materialism that governs objective science today. Those are the people that are saying, well, sorry, I believe in science, but that's not science. That is a version of science called reductive materialism or logical science.
So your brain has created anything you have in a dream, it's just because your brain's gone, hey, we need to process this. This is what's happening.
Run some
and the
neurons,
people who say trust the science also say trust the vax. And they also say that a woman can be a man. So I'm just throwing it out there. The science is flawed.
Yeah.
If you want to mess with someone, right, and if they say, well, everything comes down to biology, just ask them, where do memories sit in biology then? And they might say, well, your brain. So where? If they know a bit about the brain, they'll say your hippocampus lights up when that's what we notice on an fMRI scanner. And so you're saying, well, the hippocampus, say, well, if you cut open the hippocampus, show me the point where the 25th of August 1996 is.
It's an interesting thing.
Right? And it's like, you can't do that, right? So you cannot reduce a memory to a physical location in a body. Correct. So now we know memories are actually nowhere in the physical body, yet it governs the entire experience of a human.
Yeah.
Memories.
So we've got our own cloud.
Yes, you have your own cloud in the ether.
That's a good way of thinking about it.
It doesn't exist in biology.
That blows my mind, right? Like I've got our own theory, which ties into what you're saying, just about the pod, where I go pull up a random word, and the random word could be like orange. And my aim is let's talk about something that's happened to us with orange. And you've got these memories that you haven't ever accessed, and you pull them out of wherever the fuck it was, and you forgot that it was even there.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, I can't possibly have 36 years of memories in my brain, man. It can't just be stored there. It's being stored somewhere else, and I'm accessing it from some other point.
So the reductive materialist will say to you, well, that's just your limited capacity of cognition to realize that your brain actually has the capacity to remember everything.
Yeah.
Right? So that doesn't still, for a scientific mind, doesn't justify that there is something more.
And I can see that. I
Right?
can see that side as well.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yep.
However, right, this is what if someone recalls something that they have never experienced, and it can be proven that they've never experienced. Now, this is where the debate is for the past life, reincarnation, academic debates are. This is where I went into, right? So my master's research was on this. It's on the phenomenal things that are happening that we can measure, we can see it, right? We can observe it empirically, right? This person could recall details of a lifetime from 200 years ago that she's never been to this country. There was no internet. There was no digital footprint of this life. Yet they could recall the names of the family members, the type of work they did, how they died. The townsman, honorable, blah, 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 was this person at that place there. And you know what? You take that person to that location and you find out that everything they said was real. How do you make sense of that? That disobeys Newtonian physics, reductive materialism.
When it's verified knowledge from a place they've never been.
And trust me, if everyone's, that doesn't exist. It's like, yes, it does. It absolutely does. My entire research was on discovering these cases. We have a great Australian researcher called Peter Ramsay, he's still alive. He did one of the most, I think it's crazy how little attention it's gotten. The most comprehensive scientific study ever done, I think, in the world. And it was a guy it was conducted in 1981.
Yep.
And he's as a psychologist over in New South Wales, and he was a filmmaker and a researcher. He was doing what I was doing, hypnotizing people. And then people started talking about past lives. He's like, what the hell is this? Same thing happened to me. And then he set up a proper experiment where he had rigorous controls in place to figure out what are these guys doing, right? He eventually broke it down to picking 4 participants, clients of his, that were speaking with a lot of detail about these other lifetimes.
And when you say clients, it's not the actual client speaking, right? It's the soul or whatever the thing that's coming through.
Yeah, good question.
Them or someone else, let's just say it's coming from their mouth.
Collective.
But there is a higher part above their ego. That's all we know. So regardless of what we call it, the ego is here and it believes this. So particular example, Gwen MacDonald was one of the participants of Peter Ramsay's study. Gwen MacDonald has never been out of New South Wales ever in her life. She was, I'm going to get the age wrong, but she was maybe late 50s or early 60s. And so she'd never left New South Wales in her life, didn't believe in spirituality. She thought it was quite laughable, very skeptical. She didn't realize that. So that's her egoic beliefs, right?
Yep.
When she went under trance with Peter, she's now talking about a whole other lifetime in Somerset, England, right? With detail from like 1780 something, right? Detailed, real detailed. And then she was uncovering details after details, which were verified.